Hello everybody! Today is a Monday. It's a bit of a dull day. We've had a little bit of rain last night. We are gradually running out of the food that I bought nearly 2 weeks ago from Waitrose, and for that reason I thought I would make use of some of my dried chickpeas. I have rather a lot in the pantry. I also have a part jar in the cupboard above the sink where I keep a lot of the things I am using. So I thought with that we would have some Poori. Now the Poori is a recipe taken from this book. This is a vintage book. It was printed in 1981. It's got loads of recipes in from the Raj, which was the period of colonial rule in India, when a lot of British were over in India helping to build railways, run jute factories, other forms of engineering. And you've got quite a lot of photographs from that period. Now, I don't go along with colonialism. However, some of these recipes are really interesting. They combine the traditional Indian with more English recipes. Now, Poori are little Indian flatbreads that you would deep fry in ghee, and they go really well with chana or chickpeas. Traditionally, they're usually eaten at breakfast time with potato masala, like a potato curry with garam masala and other spices. However, they are also very popular with chickpeas or chana masala, and also things like vegetable suji, which is a drier curry, so there's not as much gravy. You can also have Poori with lentils as well. Lentils and chana are two of my favourites, and today I thought I would do chana because my Mill also likes them in her salads. So last night I soaked enough dried ones for my recipe and also to give a batch to my Mill. These overnight have soaked up all the liquid. It helps to soften them a bit, you see. I'm going to rinse these through now, and then I'm going to put them in the pressure cooker for about 10 to 15 minutes to soften them up, ready to use. I'll see you back when I've done that. When the chickpeas are cooked, drain them through a colander and rinse them thoroughly in cold water, and then use as many as you need. The others can be frozen or stored in the fridge and used in other recipes. I'm going to now weigh out about 200 grams of these and set the others aside for my Mill. The first thing to do is to make the chana masala, and to do this we need to make the base. Chana masala has a very smooth sauce. You don't need to chop the onion very finely. It's all going to be blended once the onion is cooked. Chop the onion as roughly as you wish. just going to add a little bit more onion, and we should have enough. I also need to chop some garlic and some ginger. To remove the skin from the root ginger, all you need to do is use the side of a teaspoon and it will come off. I always think ginger smells nice and lemony. Very aromatic. Remember, the holy trinity of any curry is garlic, ginger and chilli. As long as you've got those three things, you won't go far wrong. I'm just going to chop it into small pieces. Again, it's going to be blended, so it doesn't have to be too fine. Some curries I just like very thin matchsticks of ginger. I also put thin matchsticks of ginger in my homemade kimchi as well. I like that fermentation, and the aromatics of the ginger really come out in the kimchi as well, and it's so healthy. So that's the ginger, and I have some little garlic cloves. Our garlic grew well, but the cloves came out small, but I can assure you it's quite pungent. Crush it with the side of your knife, and that makes it easier to get the skin off, and then that will be chopped as well. I'm adding a few cloves for this. Again, it doesn't have to be very fine, it's going to be blended. Typically, Chana Masala isn't a very spicy curry, it's usually quite mild. I have here a milder chilli. These are more common in other Asian foods such as Chinese. I'm going to chop this up, seeds and all. Again, it doesn't have to be chopped finely, just chopped into pieces. Sometimes I find if a curry's not hot enough, I will ask for sriracha or else some sliced chilli, which I can just sprinkle on top. That's fine. I have put about a tablespoon of organic butter ghee in my pressure cooker over medium heat, and then once that has melted, I will add a good teaspoon of black mustard seeds. You cook those off for about 30 seconds over the medium heat. Listen to them pop. They start to get nice and toasty. The onion goes in first. Move the onion around, mix everything up. I also like to sprinkle in some pure sea salt. You don't want the onions to brown, you just want them to become translucent. Stir those round for a few minutes in the ghee and the black mustard seeds. So you see, I've now added the ginger, the garlic and the chilli. Now, I usually make my own base sauces, including all the spices. However, I had a couple of teaspoons of Madras curry paste left for when I was just doing very quick meals and didn't have the time to spend on doing scratch base sauces with all the individual spices. So I've used that up in here, and I'm also going to add a teaspoon of garam masala. I've added the garam masala and also a teaspoon of turmeric. I'm also going to add some cumin seeds. That should be enough. If you have any coriander seeds, add those as well. About a teaspoon of those should also be enough. I couldn't find the coriander seeds, so I put in probably about half a teaspoon of fenugreek seeds instead. And I'm adding a little drop of water. Whoa! There's still lots of goodness in the curry jar. So swish it around with water, and not only will it stop all your spices from sticking to the pan, but you'll also use every last bit of paste in the jar, and you're wasting nothing. That's lovely, look at that. I'm also going to add about a teaspoon or so of black pepper. All the spices are getting nice and toasty now. The onion's almost soft. I'm going to add about 100 millilitres of water. Leave it to cook on a gentle heat for an extra few minutes, and then remove it from the heat. Let it cool slightly, and then we'll blend it, and we've got our paste. It's had a few minutes now on the medium heat, and as you can see, the sauce has thickened. So we'll leave that to cool now, and then we'll whiz it up, and we can get on to the next stage of the Chana Masala. Basically though, these ingredients make up your base sauce. It smells so yummy and spicy without being too hot for some palates. This is going to turn out really well. The mixture's cooled slightly, so I'm going to spoon it into this blender jar and then give it a whiz. I'll be using the pan later, so I'm going to give the pan a wash and then dry it off, and then reuse it for the next stage. Now I'm ready to make the Chana Masala itself. I'm going to finish it off in the slow cooker. I'll leave it on low for the rest of the afternoon, but I'm going to make up the sauce now. I've switched the slow cooker onto high just to heat up so the crock inside doesn't split or crack when I pour the hot curry into it. I'm going to make the curry on the stove and then transfer it. So here we go. First, I've put about a dessert spoonful of organic ghee into the pressure cooker, and then when that has melted, I'll add the curry paste. I've put the paste in. I'm stirring it through the ghee. The idea is that you want it to cook out for a minute or two, just to develop the flavours further. Now I've tipped the chickpeas into the pan, and I'm mixing them right through the paste to take all that flavour. It's a deep buttery flavour. It smells really good. I'm going to add a little bit of liquid as well. I put some water in the blender jar. That takes up all the flavour and residue of the paste, so nothing is wasted. It's so rich and buttery. You can see the flecks of black mustard seeds through that as well. This is just regular passata. I'm going to add about half the carton. That should be enough. If I was cooking, say, 400 grams of chickpeas in cooked weight, I would probably add the whole carton. I've got 200 grams of chickpeas here, which is enough for supper and probably for Dan's lunch tomorrow as well. I'm going to check it for seasoning at this point. The salt and the pepper are fine. I'm going to add about a teaspoon of sugar, just normal demerara sugar. If you've got jaggery, you could add jaggery instead, or even just a teaspoon of granulated sugar. And I'm going to add a quick dash of balsamic vinegar. This helps to balance out the sweetness of the tomatoes as well as the acidity of the tomatoes. A bit like if you were doing a pasta sauce, it's the similar principle. Continuing to cook out the sauce for about 5 minutes. I'm going to add some frozen chopped coriander as well at this point. I don't have any fresh. If I had fresh coriander, I would add it near the end. Now it's time to put the Chana Masala in the crock pot. So it's a beautiful colour. Look at that. So put it in and get all those juices. For serving, you could give it a splash of double cream or single cream. Garnish it with chopped onion or coriander, or just eat it as it is. I'm also going to add a bay leaf. Remember before you serve to remove the bay leaf. That just helps to give it a little bit of extra aromatics. I've turned the slow cooker down to low and it will sit there bubbling very gently for the next few hours, by which time the chickpeas will be beautifully tender and the sauce nice and rich. And now I'm going to think about making a couple of potato cakes. I have some leftover potato and I think it will go really well alongside the Chana Masala and the Poori. This is our leftover potato. This potato is from our own main crop. We harvested the first 10-gallon bag last week. They're a flowery variety. I've added a little bit of chopped red onion and the rest of the frozen chopped coriander. I'm going to add about half a teaspoon of hot madras curry powder, a pinch of sea salt and a little bit of coarse ground black pepper. I think I'll also add a good pinch of chilli flakes. These are not hot chilli flakes, these are Aleppo pepper chilli flakes, so they're not a hot chilli. They just give you an extra spice dimension. Aleppo pepper chilies are quite popular in Mediterranean cookery, such as Italian food perhaps. I'm also going to add a tablespoon or so of gram flour, besan, which is chickpea flour. So it's completely gluten free. I like to get big bags from the Asian mini markets. I'm now going to mix everything together. I may add a splash of water as well, just so it all holds together. I'm going in with my hands. I may not need to. Remember that onion has a little bit of water in as well. In fact, it doesn't need any water. Always mix this sort of thing up well before deciding whether or not to add water, because you might find that once you get your hands in there, you don't need to. This is the ball of potato. I'm just going to add a little bit of the gram flour onto a board. I'm going to cut the mixture in half And I'm going to form this into a couple of potato cakes, and these will then go in the fridge and will be cooked from chilled in a frying pan with a little oil or ghee until it's nice and golden. You can also put breadcrumbs on if you like. I don't bother. I'm keeping these gluten free. I don't have to worry about gluten as much as I did before I was on homeopathic remedy, fortunately, but I'm still a little bit careful. I think the main thing is to avoid additives, because so many things, even flours, have a lot of additives in these days and other ingredients to prolong the shelf life. If you have problems, for example, with meal moths in flour, some people have reported having quite a few problems this year, maybe because of the humidity. When you get your bag of flour, especially if it hasn't got loads of ingredients in it, it's just natural, you might be more likely to get them. Get your bag of flour, put it in a freezer bag and put it in your freezer for at least 24 hours, up to 2 weeks. So it doesn't matter if you forget to take the flour out quickly. And then put it into a airtight container, such as a tin or a Kilner jar, and it will kill off any potential bugs or larvae or anything else. And it will mean that you don't have to throw it away. Once I went to a country estate where there was a mill, and I bought a beautiful kilo of flour milled there, and to my horror, several weeks later I opened it and it was full of moths and was inedible. So freezing flour is a really good tip to know. So these are going on a plate now. I'll add some of the flour that's left on the board, and I'll rub these cakes into the rest of the flour. This will stop them sticking while they're in the fridge, and then I'll take these out of the fridge a few minutes before we have dinner tonight. Well, I'm going to follow the recipe in this book for Poories. It says 10 tablespoons of wheat flour, atta. This is gluten-free atta flour, and I bought this from the Asian supermarket. Now it also says in the method that you need to put the flours on a flat plate. This is quite unusual for me because I normally make things in a bowl, but we'll give it a go. 10 tablespoons of this. This is the sort of flour you would use for making chapatis and roti. So I'll have 10 tablespoons of atta. Then it says 10 tablespoons of flour. Now by that I presume they mean all-purpose or plain flour, which I don't seem to have at the moment. I'm going to use a bit of French bread flour, and the reason I'm using this is that it's nice and light, and French wheat is a variety of wheat that doesn't contain as much gluten as British wheat, and I find I can eat French flour with no problem. It doesn't have additives in either. It's very traditional. So I'm going to add 10 tablespoons of this. Then it says add 2 teaspoons of ghee. Because I'm using some gluten-free flour, I'm also going to add about half a teaspoon of chia seeds. Chia seeds do a similar job to xanthan gum or guar gum. They will help to bind your flour, because gluten-free flour can be quite difficult to bind together. If you're doing pastry, for example, if you don't use xanthan or enough xanthan, it won't hold together very well. And even if you use the correct amount, it's softer unless you overwork your pastry, which I don't, and you sometimes have to mould it into the pie dish, for example. And these are natural, high in fibre, high in omega-3, a good source of protein. It says they may contain peanuts, nuts and sesame. So if you have a peanut allergy, go easy. They're great as a breakfast sprinkle, also with muesli or porridge. You can also add the chia seeds and maybe a bit of quinoa to your porridge as you cook it. You can mix them with cream cheese or cottage cheese for sandwich fillings. You can add them to bread, cakes, muffins, and they will really boost your nutrition. All the information is on the back of this packet. This packet cost only $1.99. These were from the Grape Tree health food shop, and it's 200 grams. This is not a paid promotion. There are my seeds. I'm going to mix them up. And now I need 2 teaspoons of ghee. This is organic ghee, and I bought this off eBay. It's a lot more expensive than the stuff you usually find in tins, but it is pure organic, and whenever possible buy organic. So that's my ghee. If you don't have ghee, you could use butter. Ghee is clarified butter. You can also make your own clarified butter. If you would like me to do that, put it in the comments below. Thank you. I use the fingers to rub it in. This is the rubbing in method like you do with pastry or crumble. Mix it through till everything's really well combined. That looks lovely. I'm doing this from a height just to put some air into it so it's nice and light. I usually do that with pastry and crumble as well. So there we have it. And now I need to add enough water to bind. I need to add enough water to make a stiff dough. Add it just slowly, because if you add too much, it's then dough is too pliable and it could fall to pieces as well. You want enough so it stays together well. So it holds its shape. I'm going to put the dough on this board and knead it for a few minutes. I'm going to use a bit of atta flour, A-T-T-A, ignore the spelling, that's damn being daft. So knead it until it's smooth and pliable, but still has a good amount of firmness. Again, you don't have to do it fast. Push and bring back, push and bring back. Now that's just about perfect. So I'm going to put this now on the plate that I've now washed, that I made the dough on. With a sprinkling of flour, just a little bit, like that. And I'm going to cover it with a damp J cloth. You should really use muslin, but if you don't have any, then a J cloth or even a brand new dishcloth dampened down will do just fine. The dough's had an hour, so it's nice and relaxed, just like you would be if you'd had a rest. And it says, knead again, divide the dough into small balls, roll them out thinly into small rounds. I'll put a little bit of butter flour like I did before on the board. I'll put that on as well, waste not want not. So we're doing what we did before. Heel of the hand, pull. 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 And so on and so forth until it's nice and smooth. The rest of supper's nearly ready. The Chana Masala is cooked. I'm going to switch that off now. It'll stay nice and hot in the crock pot. There we go. That's nice and smooth. I think the best way I can do this is to roll it out into a sausage shape and just cut it into maybe about 10 or 12 pieces. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to roll them like this into a ball. And then I'm going to put a bit of flour on the plate again. And then when I've flattened them, I'll put them on the plate and fry them from the plate. I'm just going to use the heel of my palm again, just to roll them out. You can use a rolling pin if you want, but I'm just doing it this way. I'm just going to do one more because I think 5 will be enough. And I'll freeze the rest. They'll do fine for another meal. The dough should be alright in the freezer for about a month. And we tend to have a curry every week, so they'll soon be used up. This is a cute little reindeer rolling pin that Dan got me. It's ideal for this smaller board. I do have a big rolling mat, but it's too big for the counter, so I tend to do it on the table. And it's made of plastic, so it's not easy to keep it flat, as you have to weight it down with something. So those are the Poori. I've put a little olive oil in a frying pan over a reasonably high heat. I'll turn the heat down once the potato cakes go in. So here we go, they've held together beautifully. time to cook the poori. I'm putting a random amount of ghee in this pan and I'll heat it up to temperature and then deep fry. Poori on both sides. I'm going to put the first one in. You see how the bubbles are rising. There we go. Press the poori down with the slice. This helps them to puff up. It's puffing up. Look how it's puffing up. That's how it should be. They need to be light brown. Oh, look how lovely and thick this is. Oh my goodness. It's almost like chutney. That's so jammy. I did a bit of rice as well. I'll put a bit of that on the plate. It's just normal basmati boiled rice. And I'll try a potato cake. These are the breads. This looks absolutely yumbo. I think I'll try the chana first. That's so rich. The chickpeas are well cooked. They've still got a slight bite though. Nice and tender, but they've still got some texture. Let's try it with the rice. I'm going to try it with some poori as well. These are nice. The crisp on the outside. You can see they're puffed up a little bit in the middle. The dough's still reasonably pliable on the palate, but the edges are really nice and crispy. They don't taste too ghee, but it's like they've absorbed a lovely little bit of butter, like a lovely buttery cracker. I don't know how authentic they are. I don't know whether they needed to puff up any more, but they've been fried at a good temperature. I'll try this potato cake. It's similar to pakora. That was a nice invention of mine. I'll try it with some of the chickpea. That's good. It actually all goes really well together. I'm very pleased with that. I'm looking forward to trying some more recipes from the Raj cookbook. See what else I can have a go at. Something a little bit spicy.
Really nice.
Oh, thanks, babe.